Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we're talking about episode 4 of the Mr. McMahon documentary from Netflix. Today is the day all about the Attitude Era and the birth of it. Now, the Attitude Era was one of the eras that I grew up in. I was a teenager when that was going on, so I absolutely loved it. You know, they were risque, they were showing stuff that they probably shouldn't be showing on TV, definitely showed nudity quite a bit. So as a teenager, I was all for it. Now, looking back on hindsight, if I would have been a parent myself, would I have let them watch it? Probably with a lot more censorship. My parents at the time did not censor me, so I had a great time. It was a field day for me. Now, just because they showed that kind of stuff doesn't mean that they weren't putting on some really good storylines and having some incredible talent. Keep in mind, this is the birth of Edge, Christian, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit. These guys were all starting to come into their own, along with, The Undertaker is becoming a little bit darker, a little bit edgier, adding to his aura. Stone Cold is coming into his own. The Rock is going from being a relative rookie all the way up to The Rock that we know and love today. Same thing with Triple H. He was kind of like the lackey to Shawn Michaels. Then Shawn Michaels gets hurt and he becomes the leader of DX. Changes the dynamics of what DX was before, takes it to a whole new level as the leader of it, becomes a world champion. Mick Foley goes from being Mankind, just kind of like hanging out in the mid card, to, the head of WWE as a world champion. So just because they're having all of the sex appeal and all the raunchiness and stuff like that doesn't mean that they're not putting on a good product as far as the wrestling goes. And a lot of the Hall of Famers that we know and that are going in nowadays are from that era, So now, why is this such a stark contrast to what we're seeing over at WCW at the time? Because at that time, we're watching the NWO, which is supposed to be more realistic and things. The difference is that has now played out for the last couple of years. 83 weeks is a long time for WCW to be winning. The problem with that is that they never changed up their formula. As they're going, Hulk Hogan's still the world champion, still wrestling the exact same people over and over and over again. And that's kind of Hulk Hogan's MO. Even when he was in the 80s, he was only wrestling the people that he really felt a friendship with, If you wanted to become a top guy, you had to become Hulk Hogan's buddy, and that kind of stuff. So, when that happens over and over again, you're not letting your younger stars, like your Chris Jerichos, your Eddie Guerreros, your Chris Benoits, your Perry Saturns, your Ravens, all those type of people aren't going to grow. When you think about WCW's lineage, there's only one guy that was a homegrown guy that made it all the way up to as big and as popular as he did, and that was Goldberg, strictly by accident, where WWE is growing their people organically. So that's, I think, a huge reason why WCW started falling down and WWE started rising. The other reason why WCW did is because they weren't allowed by their companies to get edgier like WWE. Vince McMahon will do whatever he needs to in order to win. They kind of hinted at that during this promo whenever they were asking him, hey, how do you feel about, taking some responsibility of all this raunchiness and that kind of stuff and what kids are seeing? And they said, I don't market to kids. That's not on me. That's on you. That's you as a parent. Kind of like that old school, like, if you know that you're doing something wrong, place the blame somewhere else. It's not on me. It's on you guys. So didn't really like that aspect of it. Vince McMahon's very much, hey, it's whatever I need to do to win. Is it right? Is it wrong? That's up to you as the viewer to decide. People who don't like wrestling definitely aren't going to like Vince McMahon. That is what it is. So then we start talking about the big scandal. The big scandal in this one is going to be, Owen Hart passing away. I will not tell you how many people who tried to tell me that wrestling isn't good and all that kind of stuff and that they die too young. The first two people that they bring up is Owen Hart and Chris Benoit because they are the biggest that were in the media. Now, Owen Hart, I think, was an actual tragedy. I don't think that anybody meant for him to get hurt, but Martha Hart did actually sue him, and they settled outside of court, and then Vince McMahon sued the company that was the people who actually were handling the harness and all that stunt. Now, Vince McMahon, a lot of times it gets painted that Vince McMahon was the one who did it himself, or that he was the first one to come up with it, and that's not true. Sting had been doing it for years. Then you turn around and you actually had, I think at basketball games, some mascots would actually drop in and do a stunt using the harnesses and stuff of that nature too. But, you know, that's not what people want to focus on. People want to focus on the big deal. Big deal was that he passed away. Now, also in this video, they made a reference to Bret Hart. Bret Hart had said something to the effect of, I thought that Vince was trying to get back at me and stuff. I'm hoping that he's referring to Vince was using Owen Hart and a hokey character to get back at Bret, as opposed to thinking that Vince McMahon wanted Owen Hart to die, because I really don't think that's the case at all. I'm hoping once again that Bret Hart was referring to keeping him as a hokey character, making him doing a mockery of Owen Hart is what he's actually going for, not the actual fall itself. Big thing out of that was it happened during a live event, and this is to this day still discussed, and a lot of times, should Vince McMahon and WWE had stopped the match at that, or the show at that point, and just either had to do refunds or whatever they would have had to do at that time, or do like they did and keep the show rolling. That's a tough one. I'm not in that business. That's not, if I cut my finger, I can just pause this and go get a Band-Aid, type thing. That's, it's live. It's people. Not only are you going to refund the people that are there at the actual site, pay-per-views, all that kind of stuff, what would have happened at that point? And I think in that moment, that's a split decision. Like, this isn't one of those things where, hey, we can look at it, hindsight's 2020. You have to make a decision right there at that spot. Was it the right decision? That's not up to me, that's up to you, what you think. Me personally, if you're asking me, did Vince McMahon do the right thing? I mean, I think so. In a matter of, hey, let's get the fans something that they are going to remember and not be, completely traumatized for. If the wrestlers didn't want to go on, then I think the wrestlers should have been able to say, hey, no, I'm not going to do it, and be no penalty. I don't know if they had that choice or not, but, leave it up to the performers too. Are they willing to go out there and do it? So anyway, so that's basically the nutshell of the whole Attitude Era. How did it form? It formed by Stone Cold starting the Austin 316 from the King of the Ring that actually Triple H was supposed to win. And then the Bret screwed Bret speech caused Mr. McMahon to become the Mr. McMahon character out there. All of those organic pieces. Then Shawn Michaels getting hurt, it having to give the reins of DX to Triple H caused a new ripple. So a lot of these things that happened with the Attitude Era were all cause and effects. Now, where do they draw the inspiration from? That's something that I'm really glad that they talked about very, very little, and that was Paul Heyman and ECW. Now, me growing up in Springfield, Illinois, we did not have ECW on all the time. Like, I think it came on maybe at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning on a certain channel, and I don't even know what that is. So I did not watch it. Me personally, I do not think that ECW was as great as everybody else thinks it is. I think it was a different form of backyard wrestling. That's just me. If people like that type of wrestling, that's up to them. There's plenty of stuff that I like that other people don't. So, but they took tidbits from ECW and used it in WWE. I think that was perfect. I did like the hardcore matches, but I don't want to see a hardcore match every single match. Just like I want to see an Iron Man match be very, very good, but I don't want to see an Iron Man match every week type thing. So it is really cool that they used Stunning Steve going from WCW, getting fired from Eric Bischoff because they said he would never draw a dime, to going into ECW, kind of letting his creative juices flow. WWE picked him up, put him in WWE. And then, as you know, Stone Cold, the birth of Stone Cold is born. Wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for ECW. I think the same thing with Mick Foley and Mankind, because Mick Foley left WCW after being fired, going to ECW, having great matches there, and then going to WWE. So ECW was a great stopping ground for a lot of startup people that needed that creative outlet. And I think Paul Heyman, for everything that he's done in history, period, because not only did he do a great job there, but after he closed up ECW, he was able to go to WWE and make even bigger stars bigger because of his creative mind. But I do love that they gave the nod to ECW. Now, they also gave a little bit of a nod, and even Eric Bischoff said that, Vince stole the whole Mr. McMahon idea from him, which Eric Bischoff had been doing the big evil boss stick for quite some time. But Vince McMahon took it to a different level. Eric Bischoff was good at what he did. Vince McMahon was greater. So, but once again, having the tools, having the ability to do that makes a huge difference. This has been my take on the review of Mr. McMahon episode 4. What is your thoughts? Have you been watching it? Have you been watching this and, critiquing? What are your thoughts? What are your comments? Please like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff for me. You have no idea how much it helps me out. It's like a huge boost in the day whenever I get to see new subscribers. So thank you very, very much. I love that you guys are going on this ride with me. We have 2 more episodes to go over. Next episode is going to be on family. And then last but not least, episode 6. How far did they dive into the whole controversy that caused Vince McMahon to get out? So 2 more episodes. Can't wait to review those with you. Have a great day. Be nice to yourself. Be nice to others. You deserve it. Be good. Have a great day. Can't wait to see you next time. Have a great one.